Alrighty, you ready?
Man, come on, Neil. Let's get into it.
Let's get it. Let's piece these broken pieces together. All right, guys, episode 20, the big 2-0, and I wouldn't have it with anybody else than this man right here. Man, how long have we known each other now?
I don't know. When you said 8 years earlier, that kind of blew my mind. Has it been that long?
It feels that. I mean, let's think. I moved back to Cali in 13, so yeah.
Damn.
That's when we met up with Connect.
Nice. Wow, man, that's crazy.
Right? Yeah, so.
Wow.
All right, so
I just felt like 3 more gray hairs pop, and 4 more hairs fell out.
I'll beat you to that. I beat you to that in 13.
Oh, nice.
So we got my good friend since 13. Now you guys know our timeline. Yep. We actually got introduced through an acquaintance, Jim. Mm-hmm. What up, Jim?
Shout out to Jim.
I think he's still at the gym. Jim at the gym. But anyway, we literally met, I think, at like a Caribou coffee place, if I remember right? correctly. Yeah, because Jim was like, hey, because I met Jim through another acquaintance, and I was trying to get back to performing and all of that, and I was looking for someone to help manage, and then that's how I ran into Jim. And then Jim was like, oh, I got someone who can help produce, and he's good in film and photography, which is what we're going to talk about today. And that's where we ran into my friend Brian Carey over here. And then the rest is history, as they say.
A lot of history.
A lot of history.
There was a whole bunch that happened like in a very short period of time.
That's right. So my friend Brian, he's a man of many hobbies, of a few that I learned about today that I didn't know about. He's also he does film and photography as a profession, and he is getting his feet wet in the real estate game.
Well, back in finance, because I did mortgage for a long time.
And finance.
Yeah. So real estate is the new one. So real estate and mortgage.
Yeah, mortgage and man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Multi-talented. So what made you want to get into the real estate game? I mean, there's many obvious reasons, but.
Yeah. So, I mean, back when I was doing mortgage before, it was a great career, whatnot. Yeah. Got out of it during the boom. And then it's just a really good friend of mine, Armand. What's up, Armand? He's
Armand.
Been like.
He sounds Persian.
No, he's not.
He's not.
No.
It's a Persian name, but all right. Shout out to Armand, wherever you're from.
He's literally for like 8 years. It's just been like, dude, come work with me. Work with me. And for 8 years, I was like, yeah, we should. It never did. And then, as along with everybody else, the pandemic just forced me to like rethink everything.
Yeah.
And I just like, what the hell? Might as well. So took my classes, got my license. He got his broker's license. He's been doing it for 20 years. So he just officially became a broker.
Wow.
And we're like, let's do this, man. So we're like, there's a couple of people on the team, but he and I are the ones here in Sac, and we're about to take over the market.
Hey,
let's do awesome, this. But just on a side note, I got to represent my brother and my sister-in-law in their first home purchase, so that was special. So it's my first purchase as a real estate agent, and it's for my brother and my sister-in-law. So
that helps, man. That helps that you have you kind of get your hand held in the beginning with people family. Yeah. And then you start building your portfolio like that. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's special.
You see yourself doing that for a long time?
Yeah, I think this is where I'm going to land, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I needed something that didn't tie me down. There's a lot. Corporate world's great for a lot of things. Yeah. You get the paycheck, you got the steady income, you get the benefits and whatnot, but you're shackled to your desk. You don't have the freedom that you need to do the things that I do. So, I want to be able on a dime to take a film project, or to, bounce out of town for a shoot, or just go to the beach for the day and just sign out. You know what I mean?
You're an entrepreneur at heart.
Yeah. It's a grind, but I needed that freedom to have control of my life. And, it's work. It's everyday grinding, but
you paid your dues though. You paid your dues, man. I mean, you've shared stories with me. I mean, you lived in LA for
11 years.
11 years, You dog sat for celebrities. That's what I
dog
learned.
trained.
Dog trained.
Trained,
yeah.
yeah.
That sounds much better. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't sit on dogs. Nor should you. It's a bad habit.
Yeah, I try not to. How did you get in? How did you get connected to that? Let's go back to that.
That's a crazy story, but I'll keep it brief. I was working at this place called West LA Music. It's like a guitar center, but higher end. It's a lot of celebrities come through. You have to like be buzzed in. You can't just like roll up.
Oh snap! Okay.
Yeah, security lets you in.
So they won't let me in.
No, they'd be like, "Sir, guitar center's that way." But we would get like a lot of celebrities come through.
Yeah.
And we built like recording studios and things like that. So I was working there. And I was in charge of the DJ section, like the pro audio section.
Yeah.
And this dude came in, and then this dude just had mad swag. Like he came in, and he's like full sleeves of tattoos and like hair kind of like yours, but even brighter.
Yeah.
And he just came in and just with this can we cuss?
You can cuss.
Oh, he had fucking confidence, man. Just mad swagger.
Yeah.
And I was like in the DJ room fucking around, like scratching shit.
Yeah.
And he came in and he was like, dude, he's like, I'm feeling this. He was like, what's your name? Blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I'm Tyson. And he was like, you know, I rap and blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I'm looking for a DJ and a producer. Like, you know, if you want to get down, let's get down. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Cause like there's a dime a dozen in LA.
Yeah.
And he was like, dude, just come to my place, man. Let's talk. So he gives me his address, and like I pull up, and dude is like balling out, like mansion in the hills, like beautiful home.
Oh my God.
And his wife like is A&R at a record label and all this stuff. I was like, all right, dude might be legit. And go down, he's got a full studio built into his house, and I'm like, all right, let's get down. So sidebar though, I was like, is this how you make your money? He's like, actually no, I'm a professional dog trainer. I'm like, what? like sitting in this mansion,
yeah,
you know. But he had worked with like uber famous people, like big names, and he was like, you know, do you know anything about dogs? And I was like, well, yeah, I've trained my own dogs and I've had dogs my whole life. And he was like, dude, I'm looking for a partner. Like he was like, we can do that by day and make music by night. So he taught me his system, and we just started working together.
What a connection to that! Like the two things you did.
Yeah.
You already knew about dogs, and then music, obviously DJing, and we'll talk about how you got into that, because that was one of the main things that got us connected.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool, man. So you did that for how long?
I did that for up until I left LA. Like
Wow.
that was like the last job I had in LA.
And you left LA in what year again?
Shit, I'm bad at math, but my daughter's 18, and we came back when she was maybe 15 years ago.
15 years.
No. 17. Well, whatever. 17 years ago.
17 years ago.
Yeah. Damn, I'm old.
And you were born in Sacramento area or what?
I was born in Phoenix. But we came back when I was like months old, so I consider myself a California native.
California. Yeah. Man, so you weren't a big fan of LA long term. Is that true?
I still love LA.
Yeah.
So the way we ended up back in SAC.
Expensive though.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, so we owned a home already. The way we ended up back in SAC was we were living in this place called Valley Village. It's one of those little neighborhoods that you have to know, like live there to understand what it is. So normally we just tell people Studio City, because Valley Village is sandwiched in between Studio City and North Hollywood.
Okay.
But they gave it its own little name because it's really expensive, and like they didn't want to be considered North Hollywood because North Hollywood was kind of janky at the time.
Yeah.
It's come up. So it's his own little like slice of neighborhood, like very nice homes, a lot of industry people, a lot of producers and directors and whatnot. Anyway, so we're living there, and my daughter had, I don't remember how old she was, maybe 10 months old, I think, when we left. But before that, we had started talking about like coming back to SAC. We had a baby, and we were like, we kind of like her to be close to the family and the grandmas and everything else. And I don't know how you feel about the universe and energy and whatnot, but be careful what you ask for, type of thing. Because as soon as we started talking about it, this is like beginning of December, we were saying, well, let's just test the waters. Let's just kind of see like if maybe now's the time to move back to SAC. And I'm not even kidding, man. Like a week later, the phone rings, and it's Governor Schwarzenegger's office. Yeah. And it's for my wife. She's a lawyer. And they're like, yeah, so there's this position in the governor's office, and your name has been mentioned. If you're interested, we'd like to talk to you. When can you be in Sacramento? And she's like, well, we're coming home for the holidays. We'll be home for 2 weeks. And they're like, that's great. Pack a box of clothes because you might not come home.
Wow.
And that's literally how it happened.
No.
She interviewed, they gave her the job, and she started like beginning of January. So I drove home by myself.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
man.
Crazy. So
I believe it though. I believe in like law of attraction. You put
Absolutely.
you put it out there on the ether or just in the universe, and it does come back. But that obvious within a week, that's crazy.
It's crazy.
There's
It was crazy how fast it happened. And it was like the worst for me, man, because that's when I was training dogs. So I spent all day with my daughter, and she was working all the time. So it was just me and my daughter all day, every day. And we had lunch together, and I was changing her diapers in the van, and she's on my back. Like literally, I'm training dogs with her in one of those big fancy packs. I had a little hood and like little shit hanging from it. And she just like played with shit and whatever. But I was with her all day, like every day. And I went from that to being 300, 400 miles away from her. And I'm not gonna lie, dude, I cried all the way back to LA. I was just like, oh, bro, it was the worst, man. It was the worst leaving her in Sacramento. And so for, Jesus, I don't remember how long it was. However long it was for me to sell the house and finish up all my affairs in LA and come back to Sacramento, I was driving back and forth and back and forth, back and forth, man. Crazy. Like I got so good at that drive, I can tell you everything about I-5 between Sacramento and LA.
I mean, there's a lot of farm.
Yeah, but I'll tell you where to stop, where not to stop, where to roll up your windows because it stinks.
I mean, oh my God.
Coalinga.
I know.
Shout out to Coalinga. Stinks. Horrible.
I think
turn off your vent.
There's like a million cows there.
Yeah, horrible.
Oh man. Well, so all in all, that transition, I mean, that's got to be tough. Like you go from having her on your shoulders to like
not having her at all.
Yeah, how long?
Seeing her like every other weekend or something.
Jesus, yeah, and you're trying to wrap up things over there now, and this is all happening so fast.
Yeah.
And you know, you're trying to catch up with that. I mean, like you said, be careful what you. It's not really be careful what you ask for. You guys were flirting with the idea of coming back here.
Yeah.
So it happened. Like go for it. And you know, and fortunately, you know, your wife had the security with the job is already set. So now it's just your. So what? How long did that take? Your situation to bring you back up?
I want to say it was like 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a minute.
Probably a long 3-4 months though.
Yeah, well, I mean, dude, the house was torn to shit. Like we were doing all these like remodeling and.
Oh, you were in the middle of all this.
Oh man, we had like huge holes in the wall. Yeah, all kinds of stuff going on. We had just redone the kitchen, and it was funny because I always used to say, like, people are always like, God, you're always working on your house, because it was built in '48. It wasn't a new home.
Yeah.
And they're like, when are you going to be done working on your house? I was like, probably the day I sell it. And like legit the night before the house went on the market, I was still painting and covered in paint and dust, and I'm like cleaning it and getting it ready to be seen.
Man.
And then we sold it. Yeah.
Sold it. Well, and then so you guys then moved directly to the house you guys are at now?
No. So this was during like the peak of the market, so like shit was moving really fast. So we were staying with my mother-in-law, and we were looking at houses, and everything was just going like mad fast. And it was just like now, everything was going over asking.
Yeah.
And it was just frustrating. Like every house that we were looking at, they were like, oh, that's sold for 50 over asking, and we're like, man, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
That's a dump. Like you know, pissed off.
Yeah.
There was this strip of new homes right by my mother-in-law, 2 blocks away, super close. Yeah. And we remember when those were being built, and we're like, damn, man, that would have been so nice to get in on one of those homes. Yeah. We'd be like right where we want to be. But they sold, like people lined up for 2 weeks, like camped out, and they sold like sight unseen. They looked at floor plans, were like, I want that one.
Wow.
So they were gone immediately. So we're like missed out on those. But then my boy, who was a real estate agent, and one of my best friends, my boy Tomas, shout out to Tomas, Puerco. We call each other Puerco, pig in Spanish.
Okay.
It's a long story. He calls me up, and he's like, or actually, I'm sorry, Steph calls me, and she was like, there was one model in this development that we really liked. Yeah. Everything else we're like, but this one model we're like, ooh, that's the one. And she calls me up, and she was like, you're not going to believe this. One of those homes just went on the market. It looks like an investor just bought it and sat on it for like a couple months. Yeah. And like jacked up the price, but we had just sold a house in LA. So we were like, you know, pretty fat pockets at that point. So we didn't care about the elevated price. And she was like, call Tomas, get in the house, go check it out. And so long story short, we got in the house at like noon, put an offer immediately, full price offer. They accepted it like 5 o'clock that day. The investor was, I think he was in like Russia. He wasn't even in America. Yeah. And he was just like, sure. And so no one else saw the house. So we got it for asking price. If anybody else had seen the house, we would have paid way more.
Wow.
So that was it. That's how we got into the house.
But I want to catch what you said about you saw this neighborhood and you were like, oh, it would have been cool.
Yeah.
Again, you put it out.
Yeah.
Right? That's, I mean, I'm looking at the pattern here.
Yeah,
and it opened up, right?
It did.
And you were listening though. That's I think the real point here.
Yeah.
Like you guys were paying attention. The job for your wife was more obvious, but this one you guys had to do some fishing on, but still awesome though, man. And
man.
And you guys were super close apparently to your in-laws and
literally a couple blocks away. We have never paid for childcare ever.
Yeah, that's a fortune.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude, like legit. Like I would wake up in the morning, my mother-in-law would be downstairs like drinking tea and reading the paper.
Yeah,
like all I had to do was get ready and go.
Yeah.
And then she would let my daughter sleep, and then when my daughter woke up, she'd feed her breakfast, and then she'd take her to her house, and I'd pick her up from her house in the afternoon.
Oh man, that's definitely a luxury, dude.
Yeah.
My sister, when she had my nieces, well, the first one, we weren't even living here, right? Mm-hmm. She was, first of all, everybody and their parents know my story as far as who's listened to this podcast, but you might even know it. But we moved to, we came from Maryland to here, as you know. Mm-hmm. But the reason why we did that was because my sister wanted my mom and dad near, because my brother-in-law's parents lived in Iran, so they weren't even close. And she knew she wanted to have kids, and my brother-in-law were talking about it. So as soon as she mentioned this to my parents were like, all right, we're out, like immediately. Like,
boom.
What, they were like, at that point, I want to say they're in their early 50s, so late 40s, early 50s. So they're kind of like ready to be grandparents, and these are going to be their first grandchildren. So
they're all about it.
Oh, for sure. So my parents were like, let's go. And then they shipped me out here, and then I'm here 3 months by myself, which was huge for me because I actually learned how to be a human being. Yeah.
Like I learned. How old are you?
I was 18.
Oh, yeah, that's a good time.
Maybe 17 actually. Yeah, I turned 18 here. My 18th birthday was celebrated in Cali. Yeah. So, but up until that birthday, I was living like I was 12. So
mom's washing your socks.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Those socks too. God. Man, I know. Yeah, you don't want to meet teenage Pej. Exactly. Yeah.
Time out. Foul.
Full disclosure, bro. It was bad. Anyway, I wasn't really aside from just hygiene's missing big time was upstairs, like not taking. I had just finished high school, was going to college, community college, mind you, and then just kind of careless, right? I just got in a car accident like a year prior, like almost killed me, and I come out of that, I'm just like whatever, like everything is like chilled, like no care in the world, like a 17-year-old boy would do, right? And then my parents fucking moved here for their kids to have an opportunity to like make something that they didn't have that opportunity in Iran. So like I wasn't thinking about any of that, clearly. Yeah. Right? My sister's married at this point. She's about to have kids. She wants to have kids. So I'm just like about to start college, like literally 2 weeks out. Right? And my dad comes into my room and goes, you're moving in a week and a half. We got your tickets. You're going to... He didn't even say at first where. He's like, we're moving in with your sister in California. In my head, when he said California, in my like careless mind, because they initially lived in Nevada, that's where my brother-in-law went to school. Yeah. So they got married. He finished school, then they moved to Cali. I missed that part, like in my head. I was just like, oh, cool, I'm going to be in Nevada. Even though he like literally said California. It's like that scene in Dumb and Dumber. It's like, where are you headed? Aspen? California. Great. Like it was just like so stupid to me. Anyway. So and then I end up in Cali, like no joke, within a week. Damn. Within a week, my whole life, I canceled all my college courses that I had, the whole 3 of them.
Yeah. There was basket weaving, there was women's studies, and gym.
Yeah. All crucial, by the way.
Yeah. But credit's a credit. We don't discriminate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all fine careers. But
not a knock on any of those classes.
Exactly. So yeah, and then I move out here, can't go to college because I'm out of state. So it cost me an arm and a leg to afford one class.
Right.
It's not like I'm sitting on moolah, right?
Right.
I'm like broke. I'm working at Walmart. I'm pushing carts.
Nice.
This is the funny part. I transfer. I'm in my head, out of not even knowing where California is. I had the wherewithal to go, I'm going to transfer my job, thinking I'm working this legit job. No knock on pushing carts. Yeah. I paid my dues that way. And anyone who's doing that, more respect to you. But you know, it wasn't the end game.
It wasn't your dream job.
Exactly. But I wasn't even dreaming.
Yeah,
that was the point.
Yeah,
I was just like, I just need like $300. Right?
Yeah.
So I move over and then I transfer from a store in Germantown, Maryland to Vacaville, California. Walmart, right?
Right. Wait, and your sister was in Sacramento?
She was living in Dixon at the time.
Oh, okay. So not as far away.
For
but
people
still.
who don't know, Dixon, Vacaville, 5-10 minutes apart, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, they were in Dixon, California, which anybody who knows what Dixon is, it's basically you got like 13 houses
farm.
And then farm.
Yeah. How did they end up in Dixon?
Right. So, my brother-in-law had a sister who had just moved there. And
she hella sold it.
And the homes were affordable at the time.
Yeah, because you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
If you're really into corn and cherries, you're in great shape. But beyond that,
so before that, they had a small stint in Pittsburgh, California, Bay Area.
Yeah.
And then they moved to Dixon. Long story short, I end up in Dixon. I work for a year, just work, no school, nothing, just working at Walmart. I left everything there. And in that year, between the years basically 18 to 19, it flipped my world upside down because I no longer had that security blanket. My parents aren't holding my hand anymore. I hated it. And then in hindsight, it was the best thing that could happen.
Hell yeah.
It literally like woke me up.
Yeah.
And then I got serious. And then I started taking my passions more seriously. I started to think about what the hell I want to do in 5 years, what the hell I want to do in 2 years. So that's what led to where I'm at now. But yeah, man, it was just, you know, the idea of like moving to a place where you got to start fresh. That's where that came from. That whole story came about when you were mentioning coming back to Sacramento. So before LA, where were you? You were in Sac?
I was here in Sac, yeah.
Yeah. And then, so from being born in Phoenix, you moved straight to Sacramento as a kid?
Yeah. So my 11 years in LA was actually broken up. It wasn't 11 years straight.
Okay.
So I left for LA when I was 19. I was done with Sacramento.
Yeah.
I met a girl like on my graduation trip to Hawaii. I met a girl in the airport on the way back and like started chatting her up in the airport and ended up like going and sitting with her like as part of the flight home. Yeah. And she lived in Sherman Oaks in LA. Okay. And so we started seeing each other. So I started going down there all the time to see her. And then I was already tired of Sacramento because I started DJing when I was really young. Like I think I was 14 when I started DJing. Yeah. And I was doing like frat parties at 14 years old.
That's cool.
And I was doing like clubs at 17. Like I wasn't even old enough to be in any of these joints, but it was like, you know, that's what I did.
Yeah.
And so I was always involved in that scene, and I was just like done with Sacramento. At that point, Sacramento was this big.
Right.
Like, and if you were doing anything different, like people were like, whatever, man, play this West Coast hip hop or get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like they weren't trying to hear anything.
Yeah.
And I was just done with that, man. I was going back and forth to LA, and I was going to these like massive clubs in LA and like seeing like what they do. Yeah. And I was just done.
Keep going.
Just done.
Yeah.
So ended up moving down there. Her cousin had a boyfriend who was a musician, and I met him and his roommates, and they were just like, well, you know, we'll take a fourth roommate. And so I ended up moving in with them. And that was how I ended up in LA and like did the full LA experience, man. I was like, got a fake ID and was going to like all these like massive clubs. The ID was funny. I was working at this kind of like mid-level retail store. I think it was called GHQ. It was in the Sherman Oaks Galleria. A little pricier than normal mall type stuff. And we had a lot of celebrities that would float through there and whatnot. But anyway, this couple comes in one day and I'm working and we just started talking and whatnot. And they're like, oh, have you been to this club? And at that point I was like, no, I'm not 21 yet. And they're like, well, you don't have an ID? And I was like, no. I think I was 19 at the time. And she goes, oh, honey. She's like, you should give him your ID, your old ID. And I'm looking at this dude like, what? No way. And then she was like, no, wait till you see the ID. Now, at that point, I had hair like all the way down my back.
I've seen pictures.
Long hair.
Yeah.
And this dude who looked nothing like me shows me this ID. I'm like, that's me. It was crazy. He had long hair in the picture. It looked dead on me.
Wow.
Dead on me. And she was like, and he was like, I'll sell it to you for $40. And I'm like, boom, $40 on the table. Ooh, sorry about that.
All good.
Surprised I didn't crack this. And no one ever questioned it, dude. Not once. It was expired.
Wow.
And I'd just be like, yeah, my new one's in the mail, man. I just forgot about it and whatnot. And I knew it upside down and sideways. And I'd been working in clubs so long, I knew all the questions that bouncers asked. So, I mean, I was like good as gold.
Yeah.
Never had a problem with that ID, man. And when I told people, like my friends, that it was fake, they're like, the fuck out of here. Like, what they do? Put your picture on it? I'm like, no, that's not me.
That's so funny. Like your doppelganger, huh?
Yeah, man. So I was doing the whole LA experience, man. I was like doing extra work on movies and meeting people in the industry and, you know, on film sets. And I got my hair cut at Dr. Dre's house one time because, yeah, man, my best friend, my boy Jimmy, rest in peace, man. Like that dude was my brother, man. Sadly, we lost him about, 7 years ago, motorcycle accident.
That's tough.
Yeah, man. He was a brother. Anyway, his wife was a makeup artist. And so wherever she was working, she did hair and makeup. And wherever she was working, we would go have lunch because there's craft services. Like they always have food everywhere. Right. We were broke as hell.
Oh my God.
So she'd just be like, yeah, so I'm doing this video for blah, blah, blah. You know, the crew's eating lunch and come like after that. And so she would always cut my hair, like for the longest time. Yeah. Like, Kim, wherever you are, love you. Kim always cut my hair, always had my fade nice and tight. And then we would eat and like, you know, kick back, watch the videos or whatever. Yeah. But one day Jimmy was like, yo, Dre had this artist, Sam Sneed, I think his name was. And they were filming at his house in Chatsworth. And she was like, and he's like, Kim's doing a video for one of Dre's artists and it's at his house. Do you want to go? Yeah. And I'm like, hell yeah. So we pull up and got my hair cut, got fed. And I was like this close to Dre, like closer, like watching over his shoulder, watching them film this video.
Wow, dude.
Yeah, it was a trip, man. So I met him, said hello real quick.
And I know how much you love hip hop. So that was like,
I was fanboying hard. I was trying to be cool about it, but inside I was like,
That's crazy. Oh man, that's cool, man. I didn't know that story, and like, you so like this is probably how you build your networking, like in these events or from these opportunities?
Yeah, as much as possible, dude. I'm a people person. I meet everybody everywhere.
You're definitely a people person.
Yeah, man, I'll talk to anybody, man. Strangers on the street, people in line. I don't care.
That's great. No, it's one of your strongest features, honestly.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
I don't want to talk about your weakest features, but
no, I'm working on those.
Just kidding, though. But that's amazing. Like it's all. I mean, that's something like people who are avid fans of hip hop, like. That like Dre is one of like the.
He's a god.
He's like one of the fathers.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was a big deal, dude. But you know, at that age too, like you're cool and shit. Like,
how old are you at this point?
Oh, like 20, something like that.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
You're living the life, man. You're living the life at this point.
Oh man, it was great. And Jimmy, again, like we met at the gym, and he like we just immediately clicked. And he was from Sacramento, which was wild, dude. It was just wild. He was like, yeah, my dad still lives in Sacramento. I go up there all the time. I'm like, the fuck out of here. My mom's in Sacramento. He was like, bro, let's roll out. Yeah. And like, I'm not even kidding. This is irresponsible, and I do not condone this behavior. But we would go out clubbing, like, you know, clubs let out at 2:00 in the morning. And we were like, well, what are we going to do, man? We're wide awake. Yeah. And we're like, oh, let's go to Sacramento. Yeah. And we would do it. And we would leave at 2:00 in the morning and we'd be home for breakfast. I'd call my mom in the morning and be like, Mom, I'm about an hour out. I'm going to come home for the weekend. And she's like, okay. She got used to it. I was like, we did it all the time. And we would like mash out, dude, fly by night. He had this old hoopty. And we had like a little boombox and shit in it. It didn't even have a stereo in the car. It was a piece of shit. Oh my God. And we'd be like bump and jump around and shit and like fucking just mashing out, dude. Fly by night, man. And just laughing the whole time, man. That's great times.
Yeah, those are memories that last a lifetime. It's amazing to hear, you know, like, and it's kind of I want to bring that into modern day, right? And you're a father of 2 teenagers, right?
Right.
So
one adult now. 18.
Yeah, 18, yeah.
Graduated.
She graduated. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
man.
I know, man. It's what I was gonna ask though is, it feels different now, right? Kind of like
Big
these
difference.
stories you're mentioning, like, I'm younger than you, but I have similar, like, I feel like I caught it right at the end, like my age demographic.
Yeah,
like
your generation.
Yeah, that's English.
English is hard, bro. I struggle with it every day. It's my second language.
I don't know which number it is for me.
Yeah, it's right behind gibberish. I speak fluent gibberish.
Yeah. No, it's just crazy though. Like, I feel like, we used to do crazy. I mean, I wasn't, my years that I was doing crazy shit was like, it's more in Maryland. Cause I just mentioned, like, when I moved here, it was like adult time. I had to grow up faster. Cause my sister and I are 7 years apart. So, and that was it. I didn't have another sibling. I don't know how many siblings you have.
Just one.
So what's your age gap?
10 years.
Is he older?
Younger.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you may relate to my sister in these things, because we didn't really kick it. Like, my sister and I were like, she was married when I was 12. So it's like, that's it. Bye.
Yeah.
Like, and she's 19 and gone. So it's like,
damn, she married young.
Yeah, she got married really young. Great guy. And they have 2 beautiful kids, but she got married young for sure. I'll have to bring her on and explain why she got married so young.
No, that'll be a fun one. I'll tune in.
Yeah, definitely. But no, she, we just, so I was practically the only child, essentially, because as far as being the boy, like, only boy, right? You had a brother, so it might have been a little different, but so I kind of just fend for myself. Like, I had a lot of close friends in Maryland. Some were like family friends, but we grew up together. Like, we kind of all we literally all got into a wrestling team on our respective schools just so we could hang out at tournaments. Like, that was our mindset. Anyway, but
that's commitment.
It is commitment,
because wrestling's not easy.
And we all sucked. But
that's a lot of work just to be able to hang. Didn't you have a fucking mall? Like, where the hell did you live?
Oh, you don't want to go to that mall. Yeah, no. It was we all love sports, but we figured they should just let us on because we're Persian, so wrestling.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
No, but
so many pro Persians in wrestling.
But no, it's funny though. It was just like, I just don't know. Like, and I could very well be wrong, and someone like your daughter could say no. We have, like, I have moments with my friends that I'm going to remember for a lifetime, right? The reason I bring all this up is because this whole technology. I mean, we're going to talk about this with photography
and whatnot. Yeah.
But like. And I do it myself now, right? I'm guilty of it, but I see it. Like, we're all going more and more into our phones or tablets or laptops or whatever, right?
Our devices.
Yeah,
emphasis on the vice.
Yeah, yep. Yeah. Wow, I never thought about it.
Boom, there it is.
You got it.
Trademark that shit. Put it on a t-shirt.
All right, I'm not giving you anything.
Come on.
Any profits.
We got this on film. It was my idea.
So yeah, first of all, what was the battle for you, if any, with your kids being on their devices, or did you see yourself at that age and be like, man, go play or go do something? Did that ever happen?
It's such a different world that we live in now. Like, man, I was like of that generation. Like, the sun came up and we were gone. Yeah. Like, I mean, we covered so much ground, bro. Like, between our skateboards and our bikes, like, we were all over Sacramento. Yeah. Like, and when I think back now, like, how fucking far we went, I'm like, damn, I would freak out if my kids were that far away from home. Middle of the day, miles away, like neighborhoods and neighborhoods away. Like, how did we even get there?
I can relate.
It's that youthful energy, man. We would like kick push all over the goddamn city. And I remember we'd be like, damn, how are we gonna get home? I guess we better get rolling. Yeah. And kick push all the way home.
Yeah.
But that's what we did, man. We just ran, like, or spent the whole day laying around like a neighbor's pool. But in my neighborhood, my dad was one of those people that could do like this whistle, like hella loud. Yeah. Like, and that's what he'd do. He would walk outside, man, however the hell he did it. Yeah. I would hear that, man, like from blocks away. And my friends would too. They'd be like, that was your dad. I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go home. It's dinner. But that's it, dude. Like, I waited for the whistle. Yeah. And when the whistle came, I went home. Right. But beyond that, I was gone all day, every day. We were out. We were doing things. We were either at the mall or we were skateboarding or riding our bikes or lounging at the pool or at the arcade playing video games or whatever. But we were like, it was a group dynamic and we were just gone.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I feel like kids don't even want to leave the damn house.
Yeah.
Like they're just staring at their phones all day. And I feel bad, man. Like my son's on his electronics all day. Like he wakes up, he's on his iPad. 10 minutes later, he's on his laptop and he's just gaming all day. And he just doesn't want to do shit. Like I'd be like, dude, come on, let's do this thing. He's like, and I should probably force him more than I do.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, man, he doesn't even know how to ride a bike. Like he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't matter to him.
I think I see it too. Like, you know, my younger nephews, I see it with them, right? I see it with some of my cousins' kids. You know, like it's generational. But I always think like when we were kids, right? If these devices were there, maybe we would be doing that.
Probably,
right?
man.
It's one of those deals where we can't say it for sure, but it's just I think this thing happens with every generation seeing the next one. Like we always say, like it's easy to fall into that, right? Like
back in my day.
Yeah. And I hated it when my dad would tell me that.
And so now you see yourself doing it?
I'm trying to stop myself, right? But there's certain things that if you're humbly just analyzing it, like, and that's what I try to do. And it's like, okay, if you're on your device and you're at an age where, you know, like when I was that age, I started working or I started having to fend for myself, like start taking care of my own bills. If you're using that device to make you some money legally,
yeah, right,
yeah, like,
what'd you want, an A-ball? No.
No, yeah. But I mean, fortunately, a lot of businesses are tailoring to these devices because we spend majority of our time on it. Well, you do too with your photography, right?
All the time,
you
man.
have to.
But even on even photography aside, I'm on my device all the time, man. I'm texting people. I'm looking at other people's photos. I'm talking on the phone constantly. Like I'm always on my phone. I'm just as guilty. I just don't spend like every minute like my son does on his devices, but I'm on it like just like everybody else.
Do you think it gets in the way of growth?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm about experiences, man. So now, like, I'm big into road trips. I'm getting into car camping, which is a trip. Like, I never saw myself doing this, but so you know, I bought my Subaru, and I fell in love with the idea of Subaru of being an outdoor vehicle, and it can get me anywhere I want to go, and all this stuff. Like, you know, the whole brand, right? And I bought it, and I love my Subaru. I'm gonna roll it till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
But I started doing these trips where I would just like go places, and like if I didn't get a room, I'd just like sleep in my car. And so I started, somebody told me about car camping, like all the shit that you can buy for your car to make it like your tent. Because, you know, the seats fold down and all this stuff. Like there's plenty of room to stretch out. Right. But man, there's so much stuff you can buy. Like, so I got these black mesh covers that go over your windows. So they give you privacy, but they also allow you to roll down the windows so that you can have air blowing through. So like when you're sleeping and whatever, like keep the bugs out and shit. And I found this like mattress thing that will blow up and it'll cover your back seats, but it also has an attachment that goes down in the footrest so that it gives you like a full mattress. And you can just like, you know, you can't really stretch out. I'm not like the tallest dude, but I still, you know, it's not.
You need your leg room.
You need some leg room, but if you just want to ball up and sleep, you can do that, or you can take off that attachment and just put that in the back. And I got this like net overhead now, and you can stuff all your shit in. Dude, it's like, man, anyway, that's another story. But my point being, I had to get to a point where I just started turning off my phone or just not looking at it. I just started putting it away, and trying to be a lot more present. Because it's such an addiction. Like you just feel compelled. Like, why the fuck do I need to check Instagram 100 times a day? I don't care, to be honest. Like, I don't really care what other people are doing. Instagram for me is just a place for my portfolio to sit so that people can see my work and decide if they want to work with me.
You're using it purely as business.
Yeah, but I'm on it constantly.
But you're trying to use it purely as business.
Right. It's like that, and checking Twitter, and like, dude, I got off Facebook for a year because that was just poison. And
it's funny, everyone quits Facebook. That's the first one they quit.
I'm still mostly off. I check it randomly, and I'm using it for business purposes, but I try to avoid it, man.
No, it can be addicting. It can be a source of, you know, good income. it's kind of like one of those deals, but it's just like any other vice, as you called it, right? It's using it responsibly to the point where it's not getting in the way of your daily functions and daily growth.
Yeah.
Whether you're a kid or an adult, honestly, because
I was not using it responsibly. I was getting in fights with people I didn't give two shits about constantly. It was the biggest source of aggravation in my life. So I got off, and I'm still barely on it, man. I'm gonna start getting on it more for work, but I've like limited to just work. Like I don't even have it on my phone.
I mean, I had it. I never actually officially quit. You know how there's an option.
I still have my account.
I never just got on until I started this Fumble podcast. Then I really actually went back and started caring for it. But and that's really it. I think it's social media is getting to a point right now in its like we're starting to learn how to use it properly without damaging ourselves, right?
Yeah, but it became the opposite of what it was intended to be. Like
initially,
it's social media, and we became so antisocial with it.
Yeah.
It was a trip, right?
It's
like
another shirt.
There you go. Yeah. It got bad. I mean, so anyway, all I was trying to say was that it was refreshing to not take my phone out. I would take it out, maybe snap a couple photos with it, and then I put it right back and just not check text, not check social media, and just like try to ground yourself in the moment and just be present. Yeah. And I like to spend time in the woods. I like to spend time at the ocean. Like I'm a huge water person. I'm a Pisces. So, I mean, going to the ocean is like where I recenter, which is why like every 5 years or so I go to Hawaii and just like refill my mana and just like I say I gotta get my dose of aloha.
You gotta share.
Oh man, yeah. Shout out to Lanai, my boy Lanai, and the Show Aloha Challenge. It's another story.
Yeah,
but yeah, man, that's like kind of my place that I go to refuel.
I now these social challenges that we're discussing, being social media right now, is we like to think of it as a world issue, but it's really not. It's really most of the first world countries that are having these challenges, right? It's the whole saying, more money, more problems. I mean, it's just saying, but the reason I'm bringing that up is because countries that are afforded these gadgets, right?
Yep.
They're the ones that are dealing with this the most. U.S. probably being, because it's so populated, I'm sure, being in front of it. China, Europe, a lot of Europe. But then I look at videos, right? I see videos of like kids in the less,
third world
countries. They don't have these things, right? But look at the smile on their faces, man.
Dude, they don't even have shoes. And
they don't even have
playing.
shoes, and they're dancing in the streets, and they're
playing soccer in dirt, and
they have legitimate health issues they got to worry about.
Yeah, they live in war-torn countries, and you wouldn't know it.
And you wouldn't know it because they're so. It's like the purity, right? They're just on their. It's just at their purest form. But when you're mentioning like you need your Pisces, you need to be out there, right? Zodiac signs and everything aside, like I think there's life and there's a lot of life in that, and I think where we're headed with social media is somewhere in between, where it's gonna have to bring that back, right?
Yeah,
we hit some of the lows, and I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic, especially after that show came out, Social Dilemma.
Oh yeah,
right.
That was a good
one. It really opened my eyes up for sure.
It did, but I don't think enough people pay attention. To be honest with you, bro.
But it's happening. It's happening. The same thing that we're saying is the problem is also the solution. You see what I'm saying? I think the social media mishandling it is just human error that we go through with any new invention. I feel like any new look at
I feel like it's greed driven.
Well, greed is always one of the main factors, right? But I'm talking about like look at nuclear energy. We destroyed ourselves with it first before we could use it.
Figured out how to use it.
Before we used it responsibly.
Yeah. Right? Shout out to Chernobyl.
God, that show was. I saw the show on HBO. I think it was. Man, that story.
It's crazy.
And it makes me think to be on a tangent about Chernobyl. There's a lot of because Chernobyl isn't that far from where I was born, and so Iran and I think it was Ukraine, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it's near Poland, Ukraine. Anyway, not too far, right? During the time of USSR and all that, the distances. There's a lot of pollution right now, right? That and there's a lot of birth defects that took place. Some of it obvious, where it was right near the sites of the explosion, but also like neighboring countries started feeling it.
Yeah.
And I talked to my dad about that. He remembered it. He's like, yeah, I remember that one. But when you think deeper and deeper about the ramifications of that mistake, as big of a mistake as it was,
there were lessons to be learned.
There was lessons to be learned, and I think we learned a lot from that.
We did, but then look at Fukushima.
Greed, right? You talked about it. Greed is it gets in the way of logic and humanity. Greed kills humanity, I think, literally. So same thing with social media. I mean, that is a more obvious example, like, with Chernobyl, and then it's less obvious with social media because we don't see how it's killing us from growing mentally. Which brings me to the idea of, I think people are starting to, and then this pandemic, I think in a way kind of forced a lot of people to lean back onto what they love, because the thing they had to do for the paychecks, a lot of that got taken away from many people that were, unfortunately, but it forced people, myself included. I didn't do this podcast till the pandemic hit because I wanted to do a podcast. It was always in the back of my mind while I was driving to the base 7 days a week, which is a 4-hour round trip for people who care. But it was, you're driving 4 hours away, and I was just freshly married. I just got married. My marriage is my priority, obviously, and I'm like trying to be there. And she had just moved here from Virginia, so it's like she has no one here other than my parents and my sister and them. And so it's like, I don't want her to feel like, wow, who do I hang out with just alone? And it's hard. And she's very family oriented. It was, anyway, dealing with all of that would get in the way of me even entertaining the idea of starting this thing, right?
There's just no time.
There's no time I'm willing to give up.
Right.
And so when the pandemic hit, all of a sudden I'm working from home, and then those 4 hours equals creative time. Right. So now the 4 hours I'm driving thinking about doing it, I can actually do it. So
wait, by the way, just for the record, Pej's wedding, you've never seen a bigger pile of Persian cucumbers. My kids' eyes were like, because they love Persian cucumbers, and there was like a mountain of Persian cucumbers.
Oh my God.
And my kids were like, is eating them, and they're like, Dad, can we get more? And I'm like, there's like 1,000 of them on the table. Have at it. They ate so many cucumbers at your wedding, man.
That's good, man.
Oh man,
it's healthy.
God, what a great day too. What a great day.
I'm so happy you were able to make that.
Yeah, man, me too. Thanks for the invite, bro. Appreciate you.
Of course.
Appreciate you.
Of course,
Thanks for the
man.
cucumbers. All right, sorry. I digress.
No, they're great. They were the mini ones too.
Yes. Oh, they were so crunchy.
Oh man, we didn't even get to really have our cake though on that night. I don't know if you knew.
That's how weddings work, man.
Yeah. Like, well, no, because the cake, everybody got cake, and then like we had one bite of like whatever was left, and then they were like, "All right, here's the top tier. You got to keep it for your." I'm like,
but what about me?
I kind of.
I wanted cake.
Yeah.
It was good.
Oh, good. All right. Rick's Diner. Shout out to Rick's Diner.
Oh, Rick's. I was just there.
Yeah.
Dude, I was there like last Tuesday.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Rick's Diner.
They have great cake.
Yeah, they do. They do great everything.
I know, man. So anyway, social media, I think is on the turn slowly.
I hope so, man.
We're it's kind of like it's the same idea with any new technology, right? And I want to use that as a segue into talking about what we really wanted to talk about, which was photography, because that's what you do. And you just finished shooting a movie. I got hired on by director Nick Leisure. Nick,
my man. Local director, lives right over here.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was actually going to call him if we wrapped early, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen.
That's my fault.
No, it's my fault, man. We've been talking for like 3 hours already.
I know.
We just finally turned the mics on.
We had a podcast before the podcast.
We did. We had 2 podcasts before the podcast. Anyway, Nick and I met through social media.
See, there's a good thing about it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And we got to talking about projects and shit, and then like some time passed, and he was like, "Yo, man, I'm filming this movie here in Sacramento. I need a behind the scenes photographer. Are you down?" And shit, man, he threw me a rate, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." Yeah. And so for 17 days, we shot a movie here in Sacramento. We shot all over Sac. The majority of it was at El Camino High School.
Wow.
Yeah. So the film is called Pacerville, and it stars Brian Austin Green from 90210 fame. Yeah. And a bunch of up and coming actors. My boy Koye was in it. He's got a movie out on Netflix right now. He's got another movie coming out. He's doing things. And it all takes place in a high school, and the premise is like these this teacher who's just barely holding it together. Like it's during the pandemic, everything's remote. And he's teaching online, and he drops in on a chat, and these students don't know that he's listening, and they're talking shit about him and like completely trashing him. And then he hears them talking about breaking into the school and partying in the school. So he decides to crash their party. Wow. Yeah. And then it just gets spun out from there, and it gets super dark. But it was great. Brian killed it. All the actors killed it, man. They were just fantastic. Martin Moody was the DP. Dude has an incredible eye. The film, the footage is beautiful. We shot on the brand new Sony Venice. It had just come out. Man, it looks beautiful.
When does it come out?
Should be out this fall.
Oh wow, man.
Yeah, so it's called Pacerville. There'll be premiere here in Sacramento.
All right, keep an eye out on that. I'll plug that on the screen somewhere.
Perfect. So, yeah. Go follow Nick Leisure. Go check out all his stuff. It's dark, dude. Yeah. It's dark.
We were talking about it before we turned the mics on, like you said, about dark movies and dark themes.
That was great, man. Yeah. So anyway, he shot me to do all the behind the scenes. So if you go to my Instagram, BPCAREY photography, BP Carey photography, you'll see some of the behind the scenes stuff there, and I'll be posting more. And that's just the stuff that you don't get to see in front of the camera. What goes into making a movie, it's pretty wild to watch.
Yeah, that is that. I was following your stories as you were posting them while you were actually in the middle of the work.
In the middle of the night.
Middle of the night, right?
Yeah. Call time was 5 p.m. We were shooting we were meeting at 5 p.m. and wrapping at 5 a.m.
Yeah, and 17 days of that. Wow.
17 days, man.
But isn't it crazy though how you muster up the energy when you have a creative passion?
Just rally, man.
Goal?
Yeah.
Because and then the team atmosphere of it, right? Because you got like 100, 200 people all aiming for the same thing. Yeah. It's beautiful, man. I mean, I'm not saying everybody's got to be creative, but I do believe that everybody's put on this earth with some sort
Everybody
of gift.
Has a gift. Yeah,
exactly. Some sort of gift to offer, and find that gift if you haven't, because it's truly like freeing. I believe, I mean, I'm doing this because it is freeing for me. Learning from you and anybody who is open to being on here. I mean, that was the whole point of this, right? There's something just absolutely pure about having an hour conversation with someone and learning about their life, kind of just delving in, because we don't do this as much, and that was what we were talking about, right? And then things with politics in this country specifically,
everything's so divided.
Everything's so divided, 1 way, 2 way, 3 way, 5 ways, right? It's just,
and it creeps into everything. Like, you can't have a conversation without politics coming into it somehow.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah,
and
it's nasty.
And that's been my goal with this, right? Like, I called it pHumblepodcast, and I've mentioned this story ad nauseum, but because, and I spelled it with a PH on purpose, because at first you hear it, you're like, oh, fumble, football, yeah, and their sports are part of my passions, so I there was a play on that.
Yeah, ice skating is really big for you, right?
Dude, ice skating and wrestling. Yeah.
And cricket.
Yeah, I suck at 3 of those. No, but it was it was the idea of that it leads way to the word humble in there. And I feel like if we all approach life with just a little bit, I'm not trying to push anyone to do anything. That's not the goal of this. In fact, I want to learn from you. Yeah. Right. You here and anyone listening. It's a matter of, there's so much more beauty in learning than just teaching and just showing. Yeah. Right. I'm a teacher, and I'm saying that I'm a private music teacher. So my best lessons are the ones where my student touches on something that I haven't thought about. Yeah. Because then that whole lesson is like, it's just glorified. It feels great, because I'm like, I just had this last week with a student, actually, like, because they're rare. It doesn't happen all the time, right? I gave him a song to work on. He said, I actually don't like the arrangement. Mm-hmm. And I was like, let's talk about it. And then we redid the whole piece. Dope. And it was like beautiful. Yeah. And he got to take over the lesson. And that was because, just let it ride. Yeah. Yeah. Because not only was he creating, he was learning and teaching all at once. It was like I tried to have that on my professional job and my passion. Mm-hmm. Because if a wise man or woman once said, if you love what you're doing, you're never working a day in your life. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that's what I aim for every day. It's not easy. You gotta figure that out. That's why I said in the beginning of this is find what you're passionate about, what you're creative at, what gift you have. Everybody has it. I know it.
Dude, it was one of the best things for me on that set was that, first of all, the crew was dope. Like, everybody in the crew was so cool. Yeah. The actors were all really cool. It was the first production I ever worked on where the actors ate with the crew. Yeah. Like, everybody was chopping it up during the breaks. Like, you know, there was a trailer for the actors to go to, and from time to time they would go there and work on their lines. But for the most part, everybody was together. And it's the middle of the night, everybody's tired, and you're busting your ass, and it wasn't a big budget film, so nobody's getting rich off of this thing. Right. So everybody is doing it for their career. Yeah. But there's only so much that you can shoot. Yeah. Photographically, is that a word? Sure.
You're the photographer.
Yeah. Well, then I just made it up. Trademark that bitch.
That's 3 shirts.
Yeah. I think it's a word. Anyway, there's only so much you can do before it starts to be repetitive. So I spent a lot of time just watching other people do their things and talking to people. Oh, what do you do? Yeah. Oh, cool. What kind of gear are you using? Yeah. Oh, like makeup. I would sit and watching the makeup trailer, watching them do makeup, and I'd be taking pictures of them doing makeup. But more than anything, Martin, the DP, I got to stand over his shoulder and watch him frame up the shots and run through like how the shot was going to progress. And dude, it was just mind blowing for me. Man. It was so cool to watch. I mean, dude, you've never, like, until you've watched a movie get put together, you've never understand how much goes into a very basic scene. Yeah. Like, we're shooting at night. It's supposed to be dark, but there were like 8 lights. Yep. In all these different places. Yeah. And Martin's directing all this, and he has his team of people, and they're setting up lights outside to replicate like moonlight coming in or street lights or whatever, and they're flagging off lights, and like his eye was just so tuned in. He was like, I got a little bit of a shadow, right? Mm-hmm. Perfect. I'll stop that right there. Mm-hmm. And being able to stand over his shoulder and watch that, because a lot of people hate that shit. I don't even like people being over my shoulder, so I get it. Yeah. But he was just mad cool about it. I got to stand with Nick, and Nick's my boy, so I knew he'd be cool. But I got to like stand right there with the director and watch him watch the scene on his monitor and see what he was seeing and hear his comments on it. And for me, it was just a blessing to be able to watch this all go down and see these people doing what they're passionate about. And then I'm firing frames off at the same time. And it was a challenge for me. And I love a challenge, man. Like, if somebody comes to me and says, dude, I'm thinking about doing this thing, before I'd be like, I don't know, I've never done that. Until I started saying, yeah, let's go. Right. Like, let's try it. And I learned that from my buddy Carl, man. Like, my buddy Carl will never turn down a job. Yeah. Like, he never leaves money on the table. Like, somebody says, let's do some shit. Yeah. I'll be with them, and they would be like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, let's do it. And be like, all right, cool. I'll call you next week. That's it. And I'd be like, have you done that before? He's like, hell no, but I'm going to learn.
That's it.
And he just does it.
But that's the point, right? The challenge leads to learning, and learning is the whole point we just talked about. Yeah. And that's what your experience was. And your friend that you just mentioned, Carl.
Well, it was tough because, I mean, if you know anything about photography is so much about light, and we're shooting at night in intentionally dark scenes. Yeah. So I'm like bumping up to like 4,000 ISO and I've got my shutter wide open and I'm trying to capture people in low light moving. And I have to be well away from the boom operator, the mic guy, because even on silent, you can hear my shutter clicking. Right. So I'm communicating with him and I'm saying, I'm clicking. I'm like, can you hear that? And he was like, nah, I think you're good. Or like, nah, I can still hear you. And so, I mean, I was figuring out ways to get these shots. And again, like waiting for people to hold still for 1 second and pop, 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 like grab the shot right there. It was a big challenge. And I was really happy like with what I got, but there was lessons to be learned.
There it is, man. Man, you know, so I think the lesson from this conversation is I think we learn is, every day is an opportunity to learn, and every day I have an opportunity to grow.
Absolutely.
And there's no age that you stop that, right?
No.
I think a lot of people look at learning as just the schooling side of it, right? And that's true. That's part of it. But for me, the real learning I did was everything after college. Like, you know, like college was huge, learning about just communication but really learning about life, you don't learn that really till after college. So, and I think again, it's a beautiful thing when you're doing something you love and you're open to getting better at that, because that's what you did with the film and that's what I try to do every day. But it's not always easy. But that's the challenge.
You just go in, man. Dude, I had a friend of mine reach out to me. This is a few years back, and she had this idea for she wanted to do a maternity shoot. And I don't do a lot of maternity shoots. It's not my bag. But for her, I was willing to do it because she was a good friend, and I appreciate that. You know, she had the trust in me to do this, because it's, you know, it's a private thing. Pregnancy is very personal and whatever. And some people are wide open about it, and other people are not. But she is not a type of person that's posting like bikini pics and shit on her Instagram. And so to do a maternity shoot wearing like bra and panties or whatever, it was kind of a big deal. And she trusted me that to create this image that she wanted. And she had this idea in her head. It was like this mirror image that we were going to do, where on the bottom image she's pregnant, and on the top image she'd be holding her baby. So we shot at two different times. And so we shot and it was funny too, man. Like, she, you know, we had set up for the shoot, and she was very, very pregnant, like due in, you know, any time. And so she comes over, or she calls me, and she was like, oh man, I forgot. Like, you know, my husband has this dinner thing and, you know, can we do this next week? And I'm like, listen, both of my kids came early. And I was like, you were like, like you're right there. Like, you know, you could give birth any day. I was like, I really think we should do this. And she was like, oh, okay, you're right. So she came over, we got the shot, and she gave birth like the next week. Oh, wow. Yeah, it was really, really close. Oh, wow. So I had no idea how I was going to create this image. Like 2 different times, I had to like reset all the lights perfectly. I had to get her in like in the exact same position. So I'm referencing the first photo. I'm like, okay, your right leg, pick that up. Okay, that's good there. And I'm fixing her hair. And I had an assistant that was like helping me. We're trying to like make this thing perfect. But I also had to do a lot of Photoshop work. And so longer story short, because I'm not good at telling short stories. The first image took me 6 hours of tinkering to make it right. She came back with the baby like 2 weeks after that first image was shot, and she brought her husband, and I had an assistant, and it was a team effort with a newborn baby. This is why I don't do newborn things, because there's a whole bunch that went into that. Baby took a shit. It was like, it was just all kinds of stuff going on, man. Oh my God. But
that's a stinky picture.
Oh man, it was. I was just laughing. I was like, yeah, what are you gonna do? The baby no diapers? That's gonna happen. Yeah. Because like, you know, she's holding the baby anyway. Oh, okay. I had learned so much in those 6 hours creating the first image that, let's just say it was like 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock when we shot the image. I delivered the final image to her that night at like 9 o'clock. Wow. And she was like, what the hell? She was like, we just left your house. And I was like, I already knew what I was going to do.
You're on a mission.
And it's to this day, it's on my Instagram. If you dig down deep far enough. it's still one of my favorite images I've ever produced, and it's hanging in our house.
And
so
that's a very interesting story, and how it all where it stemmed from, and then the challenges within.
Yeah.
Again, there's these there's always an easy way to do things, and then there's the right way to do things. Yeah. You know?
There was no easy way. Not on this one.
Not on that one.
Not on this one.
There you go. So
but that was the challenge, man. You got to embrace the challenge.
That's what I'm saying.
That's how you got to stretch out creatively, test yourself, and then you'll be surprised to figure out or to find out what you're capable of.
It's beautiful.
And it's funny, man. People look at the image and they'll, oh, that's cool. I'm like, no, like look at it, blow it up.
Yeah.
And you see people, they blow it up. They go, oh shit.
Yeah. I remember seeing this picture that you're talking about, but I'll post it on this episode. So
oh, cool.
Yeah. So we can look at it as we're talking about. That's cool, man. So what's coming up for you, man? What's next?
Oh man, life is crazy. I'm starting over. So said wife that we talked about, her and I decided to go ahead and part ways after 20 years. Mm-hmm. She's been a great life partner. I got nothing but love for her. Mm-hmm. But we're approaching midlife here, probably a little bit past midlife. Mm-hmm. And we just decided that, we didn't have the same dreams for the, rest of our lives. Mm-hmm. And so we decided to part ways as amicably as anything I've ever seen. Like we're great friends. We're working on the house together. It's a team effort. Focus on the children and making sure that everybody's straight. Like if we pull this off, dude, it's going to be like the best divorce in recorded history.
But again, I mean, first of all, usually people say, sorry you're going through that, but I know your situation and I know your story, and this is actually for the best.
It's a good thing.
It's a great, and the fact that it's cordial, that's rare to see a lot of times these days.
Well, if you think about it, most divorces stem from like infidelity or financial problems or fighting or abuse or it's none of those things. Yeah. It's just two adults who don't have the same vision for their future anymore and love each other enough to want the best for the other. Right. So
you've raised two beautiful kids together.
Yeah, man, and we're still raising one, and one's
not
going
to change, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
No, we'll keep co-parenting and we'll try to stay in the same neighborhood. Her family will always be my family, and vice versa. Yeah. I already told my mother-in-law, like, I'm still your first call if you need anything. Yeah. Like that's never going to change. Yeah. It's just like it's the most adult thing I've ever done in my life. And it's not over yet. Yeah. I don't want to fucking jinx it or anything, but as of right now, it's going well, and I'm looking forward to just building these companies, just like head down and just working. Yeah. Not really super interested in dating right off the bat. Yeah. I mean, I've got my hands full with like two different companies I'm trying to build at the same time that are vastly different, but at the same time, I can marry the two together because there's always photographic and video needs in real estate and whatever else. That's so I'm going to try as much as possible to not have to replicate efforts, but it's going to be real estate and finance on one side and photography, videography on the other. And man, I'm pumped, man. Let's go. Like, let's build this. Let's make this money. Yeah. Let's make this career, and let's figure out how to rebuild into the next phase of life.
It's beautiful, man. I wish you nothing but the absolute best, and I know that whatever challenge has lied in front of you've knocked out, and this challenge will probably be one of the bigger ones, but you're handling it very, very well, and both of you. I know your wife, and your kids are gonna love you guys even more for that, and I know it's not gonna be easy, but it could have been a lot harder.
Oh, it could have been 1,000 times worse. She is very strong-willed.
Yeah. And the hard part, since I said it's not easy, it's and you can elaborate on this, but it's the idea of having kind of to restart. Yeah. Because you kind of didn't know anything else for 20 years as far
20
as
years, man.
You live with this person and the products of two of your kids. So that's going to be a challenge. But again, we talked about it. Life is filled with challenges.
Yeah,
and art imitating life, life imitating art. You know, you borrow these lessons and you use them to push through. And
absolutely.
And whatever I can do, if there is anything I can do for you, man, to help along your new journey.
Yeah, man. If it gets rough, the couch looks good. You know, I'll be like, it's just a fresh pillow.
I'll sell it for you for $20.
Dude, that's the best rent in town.
There's cat piss on it, but
that's all right, man. I had a cat.
I want to had a cat.
Yeah, no, it's it's equal parts. I'm not gonna lie, dude. Like sometimes I wake up, I'm like, holy shit, like how am I gonna do? Like I don't even know where I'm gonna live. Like the housing market is so fucked up in Sacramento. So bad, Rent is atrocious. I literally don't know where I'm gonna live, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. But more than anything, I mean, it's I'm going into 2 different self-employed careers. Yeah. And there's no guarantees on anything. Yeah. It's rise and grind every day if you're going to be successful. But after working in the corporate world for so many years and looking at how much work I was putting into making other people wealthy, and it's the same thing. Like you grind just as hard for somebody else. Yeah. Like why not do it for yourself?
The more you realize your creative outlets and your creative potentials, the less you want to do the corporate line of work. Right?
Yeah, man. Because it's bullshit.
Yeah, same idea for me. I right out of college, I built my music teaching career.
Yeah, you've been doing it for a while.
And I've been doing it, but it took a lot of years of grinding and not getting much, but knowing that it's eventually going to get there.
You have to have that faith.
You have to have that faith. That's it, and belief. I believe that it'll happen. I just the timing. We pay our dues one way or the other, right?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
And that's what it was for me, and that has afforded me the opportunity to start something like this. Yeah. Now I'm building on my passions, and fortunately or unfortunately, I have a bad back, as you may know, and it was at its peak when I was driving those hours.
Yeah,
I never knew it was that. I thought it was I'm working out wrong or I messed up my back deadlifting, and that's what it was. And that could have been what led to it. But I realized after the pandemic hit and I worked from home, and all these physical therapy sessions that I went to, and nothing worked. And then I just started working from home, and then magically it went away. And then I put 2 and 2 together, and then I consulted with my doctor, and they're like, yeah, it's because you're in this L-shaped position for 4 hours a day.
Every day.
That screwed up your sciatic nerve, and that's what it was. So there's good and bad from it. I forgot what I was going to say, why I brought that up, but the point was that those were my dues. Right? So anyway, physical dues, and then the mental grind, and then anyway, it's I had an opportunity to work for the state, and I even got the position, and I ended up talking to my wife. I was like, I just can't sit in the office for 10 hours.
It would kill me, man. It would kill my spirit.
So
I have to be out and
people
about.
who can do that, by the way, all the respect in the world.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah,
they make the world go round.
Exactly.
And self-employment isn't for everybody.
No, exactly.
Everybody thinks, oh, it's going to be great, and blah, 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 until they do it, and they're like, shit.
Yeah.
Like, there's no security.
There is each side has a sacrifice, so whichever you're willing to put in. And so
it's, for my wife, it's perfect. She's a corporate person.
Yeah.
And she's worked her way up. She's a director at DOJ now, so she's doing incredibly well.
Beautiful.
And so it's great for her. Yeah. That is her.
Yeah.
She's not the type to be self-employed at all. She needs that stability.
Yeah.
Me, I'm a free spirit. I cannot be behind a desk. I mean, literally, man, the last desk job I had, the last company I worked for, I take it back. My last company I worked remote, so I was working from home.
Yeah.
But when I had to go into an office every day, like I would make a beeline to my office and I would close the door because there was so much negative energy in that building. Like I'd be tired by 11 a.m.
Yeah.
And just sitting in that office, I didn't even have a window, and I was just like, oh, just shoot me. Like but luckily I traveled constantly for that job.
Yeah.
So I had that, and I traveled for 12 years for work.
Wow.
So I was always on the road, but that's the only reason.
The traveling helps.
The traveling helped, because otherwise I was just like, just I could not.
God forbid,
could not. I need to be out and about. I need to be in front of people. I need to be mixing it up. And so it is going to be a lot of work, but on both sides, I'm working with two dudes that I'm really tight with, that I trust, like, with everything. One I've known forever, and one I've known for a couple, 2-3 years now. But we bonded immediately over our passions, and we like just have the same drive to get shit done. And the same artistic vision. And where he's strong, I'm weak, and where I'm strong, he's weak. So we just complement each other perfectly. And then on the real estate and finance side, again, I've known that dude since our kids were in kinder together. And I mean, I would trust him with anything. That's cool. So it's like I'm working with people that I care about, that I trust, and that have that
your back, and you have theirs.
Yeah, man. And they've got that drive. Like, I know this is going to happen.
I know it's going to happen too, because when you have a vision, that's the hardest part. When you get that, then the rest is just, it comes to you.
Just putting in the work. Just putting in the work, man. Showing up.
You've never been afraid of that, man. So
just got to show up.
Show up or show out. Yeah. Cool, man. Hey, Brian, thanks again for coming on. Yeah, we got to have you and I can talk about so many topics.
Dude, we need like part 2, 3, 4. Is it already been an hour? Jesus.
Yeah, it flew by, right? No, well, definitely, obviously, you're welcome back on anytime. And when your two businesses bloom, which they're on their way, your photography is already there. But once the finance side and the real estate take off, come back on here. Talk about that. We'll plug away your stuff, and anything else you need to plug. Your Instagram, BP Photography.
BP Carey. BP Carey Photography.
That's right. And is that the only social media you're sticking with? Or
well, I've got my black and white account, which is just BP Carey _BNW, black and white. Okay. I'm not really on. I mean, I'm Facebook under Brian Carey, but I barely fuck with Facebook. maybe more for work, but photography, videography, real estate, finance. Hit me up.
This is your guy.
That's me.
This has been episode 20. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, Fumble Podcast on my YouTube channel. Leave a comment, leave a review. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions, we can always have a question and answer episode.
Subscribe.
That's right. Thank you guys so much. This is episode 20, and I will see you on the next episode. Together we'll purify the mind and have a